It is now 1:30 and time to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission. We'll begin with a roll call. The Commissioner Barnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield is out. Commissioner Long.
Present.
Commissioner Kula is out. Commissioner Schuline.
Here.
Commissioner Wynn is out. Commissioner George.
Here.
Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. We'll begin by the approval of the minutes from the August meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner George. Any discussion? Okay, your votes, please. And the motion has been approved. So the minutes from the August meeting has been approved. Second item, our next item will be our reports from the Traffic Services Division. Mr. Chai.
All right, you've got a copy of our report, Section 3 reports before you. There's 5 items on this particular summary. There's the report on commission-approved traffic signals awaiting public funding. We've got our progress report on the alternative speed abatement program, and at this point in time, we've got a total of $13,784.38 left of the initial City Council allocation of $50,000 in matching funds, remaining to match other applicants for the program. We've got a summary on administratively installed yield signs and parking restrictions. Then we've got 2 additional reports which don't ordinarily appear. There's a memorandum on pedestrian crossing safety in the vicinity of the Klein Avenue and West Sheridan Avenue intersection. That particular report you may want to refer back to when we come to item 5D in today's agenda. And then at the last meeting, Commissioner Wynn had asked for us to take a deeper dive looking at crash experience at the intersection of South Independence and South Land Avenue at Southwest 59th Street. This was an intersection where a signal was approved at the last meeting. When we did do a review on that particular intersection, it was rather interesting because what we found was there were 12 crashes reported at Independence and Southwest 59th Street in 2023, but in the previous 2 years, there were like 2 crashes reported and 4 crashes in another. And so far to date, through the end of August in 2024, there's been 1 at the intersection. So 2023, for whatever reason, was a statistical outlier as far as crash experience goes. And aside from that, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have on any of the Section 3 reports.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Chai? Okay, anything from the Municipal Counselor's Office today? Okay, thank you. The next item, we will move on to the consent docket. Is there anyone here to oppose the consent docket? Okay, no one here to oppose. Is there a motion to approve the consent docket?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Schuline to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner George. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve and seconded. Your votes, please. He is a yay. Okay, motion to accept the consent docket has been approved. We'll move on now to the items for individual consideration. Item 5A is a request from Michelle Malone, Ward 1, for an all-way stop control at North Piedmont Road and West Hefner Road. Is everyone here to speak on behalf of this motion? We'll need you to fill out one of the blue forms If you would please state your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. I'm Michelle Malone, and I live at 3912 Northwest 68th Street in Oklahoma City. When I first mentioned to people that I was going to inquire about getting an always stop control added at the intersection of Piedmont Road and Hefner Road, I was told they don't care about people out here. However, I'd like to believe that you do care about lives of all citizens, whether they live in a rural or urban area of our city. Your own report acknowledges serious visibility issues at this intersection. Your report states, looking north on Piedmont Road from the west approach of Hefner Road, the available decision sight distance is approximately 390 feet. The city's minimum sight distance based on the 45-mile-per-hour speed limit on North Piedmont Road is 620 feet. Tall weeds in the right-of-way further reduce visibility. Looking south on Piedmont Road from the west approach of Hefner Road, the sight distance is approximately 450 feet, again well below the city's minimum of 620 feet. Both the existing horizontal alignment and vertical curvature of the roadway reduce visibility. Looking south on Piedmont Road from the east approach of Hefner Road, the sight distance is approximately 400 feet, yet again well below the city's minimum of 620 feet. Both existing horizontal alignment and vertical curvature of the roadway reduce visibility. 3 of the 4 approaches to this intersection fail in visibility to meet the city's minimum sight distance requirements. Literally, the only thing clear is that stop signs are needed for the safety of drivers. I believe failure to add 2 stop signs at this intersection would be short-sighted. In your report under the recommendation, it states the intersection as presently configured satisfies the criteria in Warrant B, the sight distance warrant in Section 2B.14. Option 1 of that section states an always stop control may be installed at an intersection where an engineering study indicates that sight distance on the minor road approaches controlled by a stop sign, Hefner Road, is not adequate for a vehicle to turn onto or across the major uncontrolled road, Piedmont Road. Though not mentioned in your report, there is a 30-mile-per-hour caution sign both to the north and south of the intersection on North Piedmont Road. In your speed study, 100% of the drivers exceeded the cautionary 30-mile-per-hour limit, with 62% traveling over the posted 45-mile-per-hour speed limit. In fact, the slowest vehicle in your study traveled at 37 miles per hour. One driver went as fast as 53 miles per hour. No one is adhering to the caution sign. However, having 4 actual stop signs would be a requirement and not merely a suggestion. Furthermore, your speed study was done on May 23rd from 10:59 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. Had your study been conducted during rush hour at 6 o'clock p.m., I'm certain that speeds would have been in even greater excess, and it is well known that high speeds correlate directly with higher risk of injury and death. One of the most dangerous aspects of this intersection is the very steep incline of Hefner Road when approaching Piedmont Road from the west. With winter months ahead, the need for an always stop control is even more urgent. Also, I believe it should be a flashing always stop because initially people may run it since they won't be used to stopping. In August, Mr. Chai informed me that ODOT will be bidding a project this year with a construction start date of spring 2025 to realign the road. In the meantime, accidents continue to occur. I found documented articles of accidents, with some of those accidents resulting in critical injuries and deaths at this intersection from 1997 through as recently as March of 2024. Those accidents likely would have been prevented had there been an always stop control. Installing 2 stop signs now would be a simple way to prevent future accidents and save lives in the interim. I feel like my request is one in which there's only one possible ethical answer. Stopping at a stop sign takes maybe 5 seconds. Please stop and ask yourself, isn't stopping for 5 seconds a trivial inconvenience if it could save someone's life? If citizens stopping at this intersection results in more lives being saved, isn't that worth it? What if the life saved is that of your loved one? I'm sure the surviving relatives of those who lost their lives at this deadly intersection would gladly give anything for even 5 seconds with them again. Maybe only one life will be saved, but if that one life is that of your child, parent, spouse, or other loved one, then that one extra stop makes all the difference. To leave the intersection as is without addressing the immediate risk would be an unnecessary gamble with citizens' safety. I appeal to you to reconsider your decision and approve my request for implementing an always stop control as a life-saving measure. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of? Yes, sir. If you would, your name, address, having filled out one of these blue papers, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Eric Hogan. I live at 11920 Northwest 136 Terrace at the intersection of Piedmont and Northwest Expressway. Here's a photo of the intersection that's not shown, of the hill where you can't really see. My family's lived in the small community of Richland since the mid-1980s. During that time, I've driven through the intersection of Hefner and Piedmont Road more times than I can count. I've experienced firsthand the danger this intersection has due to the sharp curves and steep incline impeding the visibility. While the posted speed limit is 45 miles an hour, the yellow cautionary sign suggesting 30 miles an hour are consistently ignored. Your speed limit study confirms drivers routinely exceed this limit by 23 miles per hour. This is not just a number. This is a daily reality for those of us who live in and travel through this area. Installing stop signs at this intersection would not only prevent crashes directly at the intersection, but also reduce the likelihood of accidents along the curved approaches to the north and south. When drivers are forced to stop, they begin accelerating from 0 miles an hour, making them much less likely to lose control on these curves or strike someone on the other side of this hill. If a driver does happen to veer off course after or approaching a stop, they would be moving much slower, giving them a greater chance to correct this error. This simple measure could save lives. Now, I want to highlight 3 accidents that have deeply affected our community. On March 13th, 1983, my 13-year-old neighbor, Lisa Fort, was crossing Hefner and Piedmont on an ATV when she was struck by a vehicle. The driver, due to poor visibility and high speed, could not stop in time. Lisa was left physically paralyzed and mentally incapacitated for the rest of her life, passing away prematurely at age 40 in 2009. On October 3rd, 1997, 46-year-old Wilfredo Ordenes lost control of his vehicle just north of this intersection. He missed this curve, overcorrected, and his car flipped into the ravine. He was pinned in the wreckage and he died at the scene. Around 2005, my own parents narrowly avoided a head-on collision when a box truck going too fast swerved, avoid hitting them, and he ended up tumbling into the ravine. Thankfully, the driver survived, but this incident easily could have turned tragic for both the driver and my family. The dangers of this intersection are undeniable, and these accidents serve as tragic proof. Although it's just north of Oklahoma City, there's already a stop sign at Piedmont Road, at Edmond Road, setting a precedent for adding more stop controls in this area. I appreciate ODOT has plans to realign this intersection to improve sight distance, but that project isn't scheduled to start until 2025. In the meantime, cars continue to speed through this intersection daily, putting lives at risk. Waiting until the realignment project is complete is not an option we can afford. Each day that passes without actions, another day a crash could occur, another day when a family might lose a loved one. Ask the families of Lisa Fort or Wilfredo Ordenes what a difference one day at this intersection can make. They woke up one morning with a happy, healthy loved one. The next day, their lives were forever changed. I urge you to act now to prevent the next tragedy. Adding 2 stop signs is a small cost for such a critical improvement in safety. While we cannot bring back Lisa or Wilfredo, we can prevent more lives from being lost at this dangerous intersection. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here today to speak in favor of? Okay, is there anyone here to speak opposed to? Okay. So we have a request for an always stop control at North Piedmont Road and West Hefner Road. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Varnell and a second from Commissioner George.
I know Mr. Chai has some talk on this item. I'd love to hear it.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Chai has some talk on this item, more about the construction project.
Okay. Yeah, gladly. When we started assembling the report for this, I checked with our colleagues over at the Department of Transportation because currently ODOT is working on a project that's coming north out of the city of Yukon all the way up to Wilshire Boulevard. And in the next phase of the work on Piedmont Road, it's going to pick up where the work at Wilshire leaves off and run it all the way up to Northwest Expressway. As part of that project, they're going to be installing traffic signals at Piedmont and Wilshire and Piedmont and Britton. This particular intersection is going to be realigned so that Piedmont's going to shift almost 100 feet to the west. And so that's going to, they will clean up most of the site distance issues that are related to roadway curvature and things of that nature. Their project, as noted in the report, is due to be started sometime in the spring of 2025. Any action that that this commission will take will go in the form of a recommendation, which we will pass on to ODOT, because at this point in time, Piedmont Road is State Highway 4, and the State Highway Commission has ultimate authority over traffic controls placed on the state highway system. But at this point in time, as far as the 5 new warrants in the MUTCD go for considering all-way stop control, it does meet the warrant related to site distance conditions. But as far as like traffic volumes or, looking at traffic controls in lieu or while a traffic signal or something like that is pending, the only one that this particular location meets is the safety-related issue, and that's tied to warrant B, which is site distance. And like it said in the report, and Ms. Malone had quoted, 3 of the 4 approaches don't have adequate decision site distance based on the city's existing criteria. Aside from that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on the application.
And I know we have a motion for approval, but if we approve this today, it's going to go back to ODOT, and they're ultimately going to decide when and where these stop signs go up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But approval here will expedite that, I assume?
Because if it is not a form of traffic control change that they are currently considering, it'll go straight from here right after this meeting, and I'll send it over to my colleagues at the state.
Okay.
So they'll know that they've got a request from, that was approved through this body to look at making a traffic
Then
control
they'll
change.
have to have a meeting about it, or can somebody just stamp it and put it up?
I'll be sending a copy of the staff report. Actually, there are several people at ODOT who were notified of this particular hearing, so
Gotcha.
they're already aware that the
Okay.
commission's is going to be
Good.
considering the request today.
Sounds great.
And Ms. Malone, I've spoken to your city councilman about this intersection. He just lives 2 miles from this intersection. He's very aware of the problems. I didn't even think we could do it because it was on the ODOT. I knew it was a highway, so this was kind of surprised when I saw this on the agenda last week, and I'm glad we can finally maybe get some relief for you.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, we have a motion and second, and your votes, please. Okay, motion has been approved. Thank you. Okay, our next item, item 5B, is from Lewis Dennis, Ward 1, for an all-way stop control at North Cornico Lane and Northwest 116th Street. Is there anyone here to speak on this? Yes, please. Your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Hi, yes, my name is Louis Dennis, and I live at 11817 Corey Nicole Lane. And I am here to speak on the petition for an all-way stop sign at the intersection of Northwest 116th Street and Corey Nicole Lane. While we may understand it may not meet the requirements to get an all-way stop sign at this intersection, there are some extenuating circumstances that we would like you all to know about. One of them are, we are expecting the volume of vehicles to increase as another 300-plus homes are built by the developer when the new sections are opened by the development sometime next year. This will mean more cars driving down Nichols Creek Boulevard to Northwest 116th Street to get to County Line Road. See map on page 11 of the packet of the petition. This intersection is in question as number of youth riding their bikes, their scooters, and pedestrians crossing that street to go to the neighborhood recreational center and the basketball court. The bus stop, the Piedmont bus stop, across the street at the Power Junction box is right across the street where we're asking for this stop sign. We are observing a number of cars cutting through from Northwest 122nd Street to get to County Line in the morning and evenings commute, times to avoid the four-way stop at Northwest 122nd Street and County Line. From Northwest 118th Street to Corey Nicole Lane, there are residential privacy fences, and most of all of them on both sides. We are observing the speed increase through this section of the road. While we understand that stop signs are not to prevent speeding and more to provide safety, we know that if what we are observing continues, it is only a matter of time before someone is going to be involved in an accident crossing the road to get to that other side of the sidewalk, to the neighborhood amenities, and to get to the recreational center and the bus stop. We have been working with Master Sergeant Robert Scala of the Hefner Patrol Division and the Community Outreach Program to understand our options as a community. We thank you for your time and your consideration for this petition.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of item 5B? Okay, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to item 5B? Okay, we have a request for an all-way stop control on Corey Nicole Lane and Northwest 16th. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval?
We have a motion from Commissioner Varnell. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Long. Any discussion? Stuart, did you have anything?
Not really to add on this particular case. When we reviewed it, the intersection with respect to the MUTCD's 5 all-way stop control warrants, the intersection currently does not, currently it's low volume enough that it does not meet any of the current warrants for installation. There is, in warrant B, where it addresses decision site distance, while the city's requirements are low for a 25-mile-an-hour street, which only requires 235 feet of available decision site distance. This particular location, looking to the east from Corey Nicole Lane towards County Line Road, there's about 250 feet of available decision site distance. So it's right at it's at the lowest end for site distance requirements for a residential neighborhood. The applicant has provided a petition showing that or meeting the commission's requirements, demonstrating local support for the requested all-way stop. And at this point in time, with additional future sections of the additions coming in to the west, 116th Street is kind of a primary collector route which will take drivers out to from within the addition over to County Line Road. So action on this request will be at the discretion of the commission.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and seconded. Your votes, please. Okay, item has been approved. Thank you.
I would also like to add, I would also like to add that this would be a really good opportunity for the ASAP program to control speeding along 116th Avenue. So you might want to reach out back to the traffic department to learn a little bit more about how we can lower those speeds as well.
Good point, thank you.
I actually got to meet with Mr. Dennis and Councilman Carter on this topic, and we talked about the ASAP program with that neighborhood.
Okay.
Right now, the neighborhood's still controlled by the developer, so coming up with the money is not going to happen. But they are aware of that, and we've discussed that.
Okay, great. Let's move on to item 5C. We have Mark Grubbs, PE, Grubbs Consulting LLC for Ward 6, requesting reserved parking for the physically disabled on the north side of Northwest 4th Street from approximately 110 feet east to approximately 182 feet east of the east curb line of North Kentucky Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of item 5C? Need your name, address, and be sure and fill out one of the blue
Good
sheets.
afternoon, Mark Grubbs, 1800 South Sarah Road, on behalf of the application. Our client is in the process of applying for building permit and constructing multifamily at the northeast corner of Northwest 4th Kentucky, and in conjunction with that, adding parallel parking to the north side of 4th Street and east side of Kentucky. In order to comply, because there is no on-site parking for this, and we need to comply with ADA standards there, so we're requesting to reserve two parking spots for ADA, excuse me. And that's what we're requesting approval for this commission. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor of? Anyone here to speak opposed to? Stewart, your report.
All right, you got our comments before you on this particular application. The only thing that the commission needs to consider are going to be the reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled on 4th Street. In this particular application, inset parallel parking is proposed both on Kentucky Avenue and on Northwest 4th Street. Parallel parking does not require commission action. There is a no parking anytime restriction along the north side of 4th Street, but because of how this area is zoned, paring back the limits, the no parking limits for that use is something that can be handled administratively. So the only application you're considering are the two reserved spaces for the physically disabled on the north side of 4th Street. There is a new section on page 2 of your report discussing federal requirements because the public right-of-way accessibility guidelines, known as PROWAG, are in the process of changing. Those rules changed at the tail end of 2023, and they're in the process of being adopted by the Department of Justice and the Department of Transportation, at which point in time any criteria put forth in what's called PROWAG will basically be enforceable as law. So in this particular case, the sizes, the number of ADA spaces on this particular block and the dimensions for these spaces are in conformance with the coming PROAG requirements. So with that, I'm happy to answer any of the questions you may have, and action on the case will be at the discretion of the commission.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the application be approved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Schuline for approval. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner George. Any other discussion? Okay, your votes, please. Okay, motion has passed. Thank you. Move on to item 5D. The Honorable Idorma Pineda, Consulate of Mexico, from Ward 6 has requested an always stop control at Klein Avenue and West Sheridan Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf? Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you. My name is Edurne Pineda. I am the Consul of Mexico in Oklahoma. We opened our office 15 months ago. I actually began the process of looking for a building to establish the Consulate of Mexico 2 years ago. The Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce accompanied me in the process. And we, at the beginning, were looking for buildings pretty much outside of downtown. Those were the buildings that they were proposing to me. And, you know, it's probably because we're the first large consulate in the city, but I kept on telling them that we wanted to be close to downtown, to have a strong institutional presence, and to also have good and easy access for our customers, for our population. So we found this building on 1131 West Sheridan Avenue, which is right next to the intersection of Sheridan and Klein. And at the beginning, it was pretty empty, the area. We actually had a pretty numerous community of homeless gentlemen living right at the corner. So some people said it's not a good idea to open the consulate there. I knew it was the right decision because we wanted to have a standalone building. We wanted to have parking available for our customers. And we also wanted to have easy access for the people coming to see us. So we're right next to Oklahoma City Boulevard. And frankly, I also wanted our flag to have good visibility from Oklahoma City Boulevard. I wanted everybody to know we were there. So we chose the building, and my government signed a 10-year lease with the owner of the building, and we remodeled the building. We invested sufficient money to make it look nice and make it functional. And it has been very successful. We see between 200 and 200 people every day, 200 and 250 people every day. And some days we see more than that. Last Saturday, we saw 400 people, and this past Friday, we had 300 guests for our Independence Day celebration. So it has become a very active intersection, not only for vehicles, but very worrisome. I am worried that it is very busy for our people, for our nationals who have to park right across the street and they have to cross. We have video cameras, and one specifically pointing at that crossing, and I really pray every day that nobody's gonna get hurt. They are not expert in crossing, some of them. We have a lot of elderly people, families, children crossing all morning long. And it is risky. Their safety is at risk. And it's not only that, but also that we have witnessed plenty of car accidents at that intersection. And it is because people naturally drive without stopping on Sheridan because they are used of not having any stop signs. And it's not only our customers, but also all the people working in downtown who want to take Oklahoma City Boulevard. You can tell that this is a route that is pretty common, you know. So people are just used to not stopping and, you know, making a left to take Oklahoma City Boulevard, and that's when the accidents happen. And also another problem is that now there's a long line building up on Oklahoma City Boulevard with people trying to make a left to get into downtown. So I am not an expert, and I don't have any data with me, but I believe that apart from the stop signs that we need on the four corners at our intersection of Sheridan and Klein, it would be also very convenient for everybody in Oklahoma City to have a light, a red light, traffic light on Oklahoma City Boulevard, because people try to, you know, they take Oklahoma City and then they take Klein. And because the ones driving on Sheridan don't have to stop, many times you just have one car driving down Sheridan and 10 cars lining up here. So it's not even fair. So that's what I wanted to present to you today. Thank you so very much for your attention.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on behalf? Yes, your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
I'm Rachel Hubbard, and I live at 2200 Northeast 100th Street. I'm the executive director of KOSU Radio. We moved in at 18 North Klein, just half a block north of Sheridan, in June of this year. And our staff has significant safety issues and also traffic control issues getting in and out of work because of the lack of a four-way stop. And as the previous speaker mentioned, we do believe that there would be an extreme benefit of having significant traffic controls and pedestrian markings because of the combination of the unhoused community, the pedestrian access from Star Space 46, the co-working facility on the corner of Sheridan and Klein, and the pedestrian access for the Mexican consulate. This is an extreme safety issue for our staff and also all of the pedestrians in the issue. So I would encourage you to continue evaluating this because it is extremely dangerous, not just for the people in that immediate neighborhood, but people coming in during morning rush hour off of the boulevard because of the traffic stoppage on the boulevard that's not clearly marked for people trying to navigate the stop sign issue at the corner of Klein and Sheridan. If you have any other issues, we'd be happy to host you during rush hour as you can experience this for yourself. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of? Yes, we need your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Torres, 319 Southwest 25th Street, Oklahoma City. I am also here to speak on behalf of various visitors that have engaged both at Star Space and at the consulate. We hosted a community event there, and we had 2 very near misses at that date. And so because of that, a number of people joined us in communicating the concern. As the consulate mentioned, the population, the traffic there has significantly grown from what was anticipated. Maybe not from what was anticipated, but from what was there previous. And the visitors there are all parking across the street. And so I usually come from Walker, and so every time I catch Oklahoma City Boulevard, I'm stuck on Oklahoma City Boulevard because it's backed up. It's backed up on Klein coming from Sheridan. That, for me, is somewhat more of an inconvenience, not as concerning as my fear that there's going to be a pedestrian accident. Just trying to cross the street, everybody's standing there looking at who goes when and where. And so that is absolutely something that we would definitely benefit from. One of the other reasons that I chose to come and speak is because we have a large population of our community that does not speak English and does not know what the process is and how to be heard, how to use their voice. I am very privileged in that I do have access to hearing many of those community members and the ability to speak for those who can't. So I appreciate your time both for listening to me and for taking action on something that is concerning a significant number of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Your name, address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Allison Bailey, 216 Northwest 20th Street, Oklahoma City. I am here representing the ownership of 18 North Klein Avenue, a property located approximately a half block north of this intersection. In addition to representing this property, I also use this intersection as a member of the public regularly. I support the new stop sign here, and I would add that I would like to make sure that there is a marked crosswalk that goes in with the 2 additional stop signs. Not only does the design of the current intersection put pedestrians at a safety risk, as both of 3 of the other commenters have said, it actually puts drivers at a risk because they are backed up on the boulevard on a regular basis during green lights. Additionally, I request that when this stop sign goes in, that staff install temporary warning signs notifying commuters that this stop sign has been added, because in my experience witnessing drivers leaving downtown, they are very comfortable with the fact that there isn't a stop sign at this intersection. And so I want to make sure that they are aware that this is coming and that they observe it when it is installed. I saw the mention of a roundabout submitted in the upcoming bond and the staff response. I would encourage staff to write the line item for this intersection broadly in a way that allows staff and the public to continue to improve this intersection with thoughtful improvements, whether that be a roundabout or other future signals that would benefit pedestrians and users of this intersection. This area is definitely transitioning, and there's a lot of different activity happening at it. And so I would want to make sure that we could use the funds allocated in the bond to accurately improve the intersection for the time in which we are putting that in and not what we predict to be happening. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor of? Okay, anyone here to speak opposed to? Okay, Mr. Chime, your report.
All right, you got staff comments before you. With respect to this particular intersection meeting, MUTCD requirements for considering all-way stop control, there are 5 warrants that were proposed in the new manual, and this particular location satisfies all but one of those, and the only one that it does not satisfy is the one that's associated with decision site distance criteria. So it's got sufficient, it has a crash experience, which will meet the conditions set forth in the manual. It's got warrant C, which is ordinarily considered the transition. It allows a community to use all-way stop control as it's transitioning to signalized control or another form of intersection control, such as a roundabout, which is what we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So this intersection would meet warrant C. Under warrant D, which has got 8-hour traffic volumes, it's got sufficient volumes for that. And warrant E, which is just generically labeled other factors. In this particular case, one of the primary reasons for bringing this case before the commission is the concern for pedestrian crossing safety in the vicinity. In the Section 3 report of this month's agenda, I have a kind of a rather detailed analysis looking at various traffic control improvements that could be considered at the intersection of Klein and Sheridan. And when this request had come in, it come in at the beginning of the year, and we've been looking at it and spending considerable amount of time on it. We collected traffic data at both Oklahoma City Boulevard and Klein and at Sheridan and Klein. And using that information, we modeled things like traffic signals, all-way stop control. There's always the do nothing, which is leave it just the way it is alternative. And in doing the modeling, the thing that we came up with, which would probably suit the particular demand at this intersection and meet the needs of pedestrians, is actually putting in a roundabout at the intersection of Klein and Sheridan. And in addition to that, adding a southbound dedicated right turn lane that takes you from Klein and allows you to turn right on Klein onto Oklahoma City Boulevard and head to the west. Those two improvements we're going to propose for inclusion in the 2025 general obligation bond when it comes before a vote sometime next year. In this particular location, one thing that you also have to consider is that regardless of what traffic control improvements are done at the intersection of Klein and Sheridan, whether it's a roundabout in the future or all-way stop control now, it will have an impact to on-street parking at the northeast corner. Because right now there's a lay-by and it's being used for angle parking. Well, as a result of putting in some form of traffic control or a roundabout, what would need to happen is there would need to be about at least 30 feet of parking spaces would need to be cleared in advance of stop signs, which would probably be the thing that would go in at this point in time ahead of a roundabout. With respect to questions about marking crosswalks, the city has recently completed wheelchair ramps, is going to be completing additional sidewalk improvements along Sheridan. So if they may not be marked just yet, I've not been out in the past couple of weeks, but there will be pedestrian crosswalks marked on all approaches as part of the city's current work. The only other item of note is in this particular location, as the consul had mentioned, they do have a fair number of visitors. The consul parking lot is actually, for visitors, is at the southwest corner of Klein and Sheridan, and the consul itself is over at the northwest corner of Clergan and Sheridan. So most of the visitors have to traverse they have to cross both Klein and both Sheridan on their way to the consul. At this point in time, with a roundabout or even with the additional crosswalks, probably the safest pedestrian crossing route is going to be crossing on Sheridan to the west of Klein and then crossing Klein on the north side of Sheridan, because those are the two least busy approaches into the intersection. The south approach has got upwards of about 10,000 vehicles per day, as does the east approach. So the west approach and the north approach are probably the best for pedestrian crossing safety purposes. And other than that, if you've got any other questions related to the application, I'd be happy to answer any that you might have.
Any questions, comments? Do we have a motion regarding item 5D?
I move the application be approved.
We have a motion.
I would like to second.
Motion by Commissioner Schuline, a second by Commissioner Cornett. Any further discussion?
I think that roundabout will be great. That is a horrible intersection. I mean, it's just backed up everywhere, every day.
Yeah, and the reason for looking at the roundabout is because the primary movement through the intersection is in the morning, it's northbound on Klein and then eastbound on Sheridan into downtown, which is basically a right turn.
Right.
And then in the evening, there's a somewhat significant southbound movement, but there's a greater significant westbound movement. And with a roundabout, the westbound movement would just make a turn all the way, it would go across the north end of the roundabout and then head south. And it would cross the two least busy legs of the intersection. So a roundabout option would also facilitate easier traffic movement. It would also prevent some backing that might occur on Klein Avenue. And the other thing that we'd covered in our study that we'd done when we'd evaluated the intersection, it gets a surprising number of tractor trailers that make turns through that intersection. And just vehicles towing, smaller trailers. A roundabout will have a truck apron on its interior, so it would be set up right now, and it could accommodate turning movements of larger vehicles. So that's another benefit for using a roundabout.
Yep. Yeah, that seems almost busy enough to have like a 4-lane, where you have 2 going this way and 2 coming this way, instead of just single lane, like at 10th or something. That's a very, very busy intersection when it just backs up. At least at the busy times of the day, it's just.
Mr. Chairman, or Stuart, did staff consider a right lane or a right turn lane northbound on Klein at Sheridan to kind of, just curious if that was part of your study?
Well, at this point in time, considering that the north-south movements are currently stop controlled, while it's possible to do something like that, it would impact the existing parking lot on the east side of Klein, and that is a parking lot that is used by embassy staff. Because there's actually 2 parking lots. There's a smaller one at the southeast corner that's for consulate staff, and on the southwest corner is for visitors to the consulate. But if you have a roundabout in place, you wouldn't need the additional lane because traffic should move fairly rapidly through the intersection. And if we can encourage pedestrians to cross the west side of the intersection and across the north side, they'll be crossing the least busiest approaches. So it's kind of a win from a operational standpoint, capacity-wise, and for pedestrian safety.
I just wanted to point out that, and I don't think I'm going to have to convince anybody on that right now to vote yes, but somebody brought this to me in like December of 2022, and then somebody again brought it to me last spring, like a year ago spring, and so this has been on the minds of people in that area for a very long time, and I'm really glad to see the application, and I hope it gets approved today. I do, I mimic what Allison said. I really think that we need to leave our bond conversation open. Like what we list in the bond for traffic control there. I have seen a lot of studies, and obviously you were an engineer, but I've seen a lot of studies that roundabouts are not conducive to heavy foot traffic, and that really worries me that we are making it very easy for cars to move, and as it should be, but at the same time we're kind of going back a step by instituting something that makes it so easy that they're not stopping for pedestrians at this point. So I think having an actual traffic signal there where we're timing it, anticipating heavy eastbound traffic or northbound traffic or heavy westbound traffic, signaling that for the different times of day to me makes a lot more sense than to put in a roundabout at that area. But that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or any other discussion? Yes.
I forgot to thank the city and the council for building the ramps. We noticed that, and we were very happy to see them. And I also forgot to mention that even though a stop sign is pretty universal, everybody understands what a stop sign means, I personally believe that it would be necessary for some of our customers to have something like a stronger message, like saying it is prohibited to cross here, use the crosswalk. I don't know if the city has anything like that. I would be more than willing to get those, even pay for those signs if that is not approved by the council, if I have your authorization. But I think for some of our customers, it would be very convenient just to have a very clear and direct message of you have to use the crosswalk for your safety. So that's what I wanted to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Schuline, a second from Commissioner Cornett to approve item 5D. Your votes, please. Okay, motion has passed. We'll go on to the last item for the day, which is 5E, and it's a request from Candace Wright, Ward A, to change the speed limit on West Hefner Road between North Ann Arbor Avenue and North Portland Avenue from 45 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. And we do have someone here to speak in favor of.
Yes, I'm Candace Wright. My address is 12120 Old Farm Place, Oklahoma City. I'm requesting the speed limit to be changed on West Hefner Road going west on North Portland Avenue to North Ann Arbor Avenue from 45 miles an hour down to 25. This is a winding road and it's very dangerous. Drivers do not pay attention and a lot of drivers exceed the speed limit. In April this year, 2 accidents happened on the winding road. A driver crossed over and hit a car head-on, killing the other driver. And the other accident on West Hefner Road, a driver ended up in critical condition. Also, the deer are a major concern. 4 deer were killed on West Hefner Road in June near the Pat Murphy Park. 1 was a fawn hit in broad daylight. If the speed limit had been lowered to 25, I believe the driver would have been able to slow down or stop. The deer come out of just nowhere in the wooded areas. They congregate over near Pat Murphy Park off Meridian. I have lived in this neighborhood over 17 years, and there are so many deer. Please, let's save lives and the wildlife. If you can't change the limit to 25, please consider 30 or 35. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the reduction in speed limit? Okay, is there anyone here to speak against the motion? Yes, your name, address, and you will have up to 5 minutes.
Paul Rodesny, 7328 Northwest 111th Street. I've traveled Hefner Road over 20 years. I've only seen 1 deer hit. Of course, I guess I'm not driving down there during the current times, but it is, as she says, a windy road because it follows the curvature of the dam. It's not the road's fault. It's a nice road. It may be a little curvy, but it's wide open. There's no buildings, nothing along there to block your vision, so it shouldn't be very hard to see other cars. I think I would suggest that it's distraction. It's the cars, the people aren't paying attention when they're driving along there. I have seen cars that get close to driving over the double line. I haven't seen anybody come all the way across, but it's not the road's fault, it's the people in the cars. It's the distraction. If we can do something about that, that'd be fantastic. And as for the deer, I've never had one jump out in front of me here, but I've had dozens in Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, and you don't see them. They come shooting out from the trees, and you can honk your horn, you can screech your brakes. They don't slow down. They're determined to get across. They're going to get across, or at least try. So the deer, unless you want to put a very high fence to try to slow them down or stop them or relocate the deer, they want to get across, they're going to try to get across, and they come shooting out, you don't see them. I have seen some where they've run into the side of the cars because they don't stop. So moving it to 25 miles an hour is a little bit excessive. Actually, I think it's a lot excessive. That strip of road is 5 miles from Highway 74, Lake Hefner Parkway, going west till it meets Northwest Highway. It's the consistent 45 miles an hour, which I believe is the way it was planned. The speeds along there dictate that that's the current and proper speed, 45 miles an hour. That way people don't have to think, okay, in half a mile I got to slow down to 35, and then I can go back up to 45, and then another half mile I've got to slow back down to 30 and go back up to 45. This way it's consistent, safe, 45 miles an hour. People don't have to think about it. They can concentrate on their driving. And one of my concerns would be 122nd. If we lower it down to 20 or 25 or 30 miles an hour, everyone's moving to 122nd. Almost 22,000 people a day drive Hefner Road. It's a main artery. And if you have a mile and a half at 25 miles an hour, there are going to be a lot of people who don't want to spend that much time on that road. They'll either be speeding or they're going to go somewhere else. And I can see a lot of them moving 122nd. So I would recommend not pass this. It's 25 miles an hour is not needed. Lowering the speed is not needed. It's been looked at before. This is a consistent speed. It's a safe speed, and I think we ought to leave it where it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here to speak against item 5E? Okay, Mr. Chai?
All right, you got our staff report before you. The one thing we look at when we're reviewing requests for changes to speeds on arterial roadways is we will look at the built environment through which the street passes, the number of lanes, the connections at either end, and how the roadway functions as far as, if it functions as a local road, as a collector, or an arterial within the city's roadway network. In this particular case, on this particular road, this section of Hefner Road has been the subject of several actions in recent years. In September of last year, the commission considered but didn't approve a request to decrease the speed limit from 45 to 40. And prior to that, in 2019, it considered a request to increase the speed limit from 40 to 45, which was approved. The Hefner Road does have a consistent 45-mile-an-hour speed limit for quite a few miles through this section of the city. We do use the Bella Light methodology for determining a credible speed limit, and we also use a relatively new method proposed by the NCHRP, which is titled Posted Speed Limit Setting Procedures. And in using both these methods, our findings were that the most credible and appropriate speed limit for this particular road, based on how it's constructed, the environment through which it passes, is minimum of 43 and probably a 45-mile-an-hour limit is appropriate. If you look at the current speed studies on the roadway, we're looking at the 50th percentile speed is running at 46, and the 85th percentile speed is running at 50. These are consistent with results that we have collected in the past on other sections of Hefner Road. There aren't any decision site distance conditions that need to be considered. So at this point in time, because the 25-mile-an-hour request would put the speed limit about 21 miles per hour below the observed 50th percentile speed, we just don't have justification to recommend approval of a speed limit change to 25 along this section of Hefner Road. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
All right, is there a motion regarding item 5E?
Yeah, I can move to not approve the application. This is just one of those areas, here we've had 3 or 4 in the last couple of years, somebody wanting it faster, somebody wanting it slower. And I understand it because it is kind of that, you have the park on one side, and so there is a little bit of a feeling like it should be slow, but nobody drives it slow. I mean, it's 50 miles an hour is kind of the, almost the average, so, or 46 is the average. So that would just be slowing down, 40,000 cars a day? Too much, I think. So I move to disapprove.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner George to disapprove. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Varnell. Any discussion?
I live right there. This has come up several times in my 6 years up here, and I've always been against lowering the speed limit here because it is exactly what you said. There's always policemen out there too, hitting people that are speeding, but it's well lit at night. It's 4 lanes. The speed limit is right where it needs to be.
Okay, any other comments or discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Varnell. Your votes, please. I'm sorry, to disapprove. Excuse me. To be plain, this is to disapprove.
It is to disapprove.
Do what? Oh, yes, to agree with the motion. Okay.
Yep.
The motion to disapprove item 5E has passed. Okay, thank you. Item 6, any comments from the citizens? Anyone here that have anything to say? Okay, we'll move on to item 5.7, reports and other items of traffic commissioners and traffic commission committees. Commissioner Vernell?
None for me, thank you.
Commissioner Long? Commissioner Schuline?
Nothing just except to say, keep our fellow Commissioner Rob in our thoughts and prayers. He's still struggling with his surgery and recovery. But all good. Nothing else, thanks.
We'll definitely do that. I would just like to say, everybody that spoke today did a fantastic job. I mean, this was like one of the best audience participation today. Everybody was very well prepared and made great points, so hats off to them.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornett?
I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Okay. Unless there's any other item which I'm not aware of, we are dismissed. Oh, excuse me.
At the October meeting, there will be election of officers. So now it's time to start your campaigns.
I won't be here. It will be my birthday too, that day.
I would like to just real quick before we do dismiss to add what Commissioner Schuline said. Commissioner Littlefield had leg amputated. I don't know, evidently it did not achieve what they had wanted it to achieve, and so he went back into surgery, and this time they amputated above the knee. And I hope we all keep Commissioner Littlefield in our thoughts and prayers. Without any other business, we are dismissed.